to make Snickerdoodle cookies. They are very good cookies, and today you will learn how to make them. First step is you have to preheat the oven to 400 degrees, like so. And then when you're done that, you press start. And the oven preheats itself. Now we're going to start mixing our ingredients. The first thing we do is get 1.5 cups of sugar and we pour it into the bowl. Next you need to get 1/2 cup of margarine and you need to mix all that and put it into the bowl. But make sure you get a butter knife like so you can scrape all around the edges. So you need to make sure you get all of the margarine into the bowl or it will not work. Next you get 1/2 cup of shortening and use your same knife as you just used for the margarine in the previous step and do the exact same thing where you stick the knife in, go all around of it and get it all out. Because if you don't do this properly, once again the cookies will not turn out as good as they would normally turn out, making it very bad. Next we have to add 2 eggs into our mixture. So first of all we'll set this bowl aside, make sure not to get any eggshells in it. And next we'll get this smaller separate bowl we'll use for the eggs. Here's egg number 1, we need to try to crack it. A crack attempt number 1. As you can see the egg was cracked. Yeah, that was a very good job. Now next. You can see that one works pretty well as well. And there are eggs. Next we're going to put our eggs into the big bowl over here. And now we have a big spoon in order to stir all of the stuff in the big mixture together for our cookies to turn out. Make sure you get any excess stuff off the sides into the bowl so you get all of your ingredients together. Next we need to add 2 3/4 of flour to our mixture, but before we do that we need to add 2 teaspoons of cream and tartar to 1 of our cups of flour. When you are pouring the cream of tartar into the teaspoon holder, make sure you use a knife after so you can scrape it off so you have the right amount. But use a clean knife than the knife we used earlier for the eggs so that it comes out nice and clean. Now after we have successfully put our 1 teaspoon in, use your knife to level it out, like so. Go over a different bowl than your cookie bowl, so you don't get any excess stuff into the bowl. And then once it's nice and leveled, like so, you add it to your cup of flour. Once you do that, you have to add 1 more teaspoon of the cream and tartar. Once you have your other teaspoon of cream of tartar ready, you do the exact same thing you did the first time. You level it out over to the other bowl so you don't get excess materials into it. And once it's leveled, you put it into the flour cup. Next, you add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Use the same teaspoon container thing as before while pouring this in. And now use your knife to roll that out. And do the same thing as before, put your baking soda into the same container you put your cream of tartar in. Next we add 1/4 teaspoon of salt into the same cup as the other stuff. But since the 1/4 hole is very small, you have to be very precise so you don't accidentally waste too much of your salt. As you can see, that wasn't very bad. Level it out as always and pour it into your cup. Next, since we have all our ingredients together, we're going to pour this into here and mix it up. Use your spoon that you used to mix it earlier and mix it again. Once you get that one done, get your other cup of flour and pour that in here. But don't do it all at once because there's lots. Do it little by little so you can gradually mix it. And be sure to get off all the stuff off the sides so that you don't have less ingredients in your mixture. Now add a little more. And continue your mixing. When you are mixing your cookies, you may find that they are getting pretty heavy and hard to turn. But if you want them good, you have to use all your strength in order to turn it. And lastly, add the last bit. And finish off your stirring. If any excess flour or ingredients, flour the sides of the table or on the floor during mixing, do not worry, they do not make stains or marks. You can clean up once you're done. Now that the cookie dough is all mixed and ready, we can move over to a clean bowl over here where you have to add 2 tablespoons of cinnamon and 2 tablespoons of sugar. As you can see, I have 1 tablespoon here. The first you pour it in, and then you go get the second. Now we have 2 tablespoons of sugar. Next you need to add 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, and since the bag is small we had to get a separate spoon in order for it to work. As you can see, there's 1 tablespoon. And there's the second tablespoon. Now we mix the sugar and cinnamon together. Next, we have to get our ungreased cookie tray, and we are going to be putting it on the table. next step, make sure your sleeves are rolled up because it could get messy. You need to grab some dough and get it a ball size to make sure it's not too big, not too small. About this size. And then put it inside the bowl with the cinnamon and sugar and spin it around like this to mix it up. Once your dough is full of sugar and cinnamon, you put it onto the tray and you are ready to make your next one. Next, get a plate like this so that you can put all the ones on there so you can roll them faster. Now that all the cookies are rolled, we can start putting them inside here and shaking them up. You can do 1 or 2 cookies at a time, depending on what you would like to do. There's 1 cookie, and when you place it on your tray, make sure they're spread apart so they do not overlap when they spread out when they are cooking. Now we're going to try 2 at once. As you can see, it worked very well. So we will continue doing 2 at once, so we do not waste time and can go fast. Put your cookies into the oven, and then you close the door and you can start to make them for 8 minutes. There are the cookies. They are in the oven, being baked. You have to bake them for 8 minutes. And for now, there is 5 minutes left to cook them. When the cookies are done, because they are hot, obviously, the tray, and you open it. And grab the tray, and you put it on top of the oven in order for it to cool off. Now, before we transfer the cookies to the tray over there, we need to wait for them to cool off first, because they're hot and they have just come out of the oven. But before we transfer it, we just need to wait a few minutes. The cookies have sat for a few minutes. You need to use a spatula and go underneath the cookies and put them onto the tray over here so that they can cool off. So have oven mitt on one hand, so angle it to pick up like this, and use the spatula to go underneath the cookie like so, and put it onto the tray. You need to do this for all your cookies. cookies to the second tray, like I already did. And now you can put the second tray into the oven and begin to cook those ones. And you set the timer to 8 minutes. Now that these cookies have cooled off enough, we can transfer them to this container and wait for the next batch as they are finishing up so we can leave room on this tray. Now that the cookies are finished, we can test them and eat them and see how they turned out. The cookie is pretty good. The first step is you have to preheat the oven to 400 degrees, like so. And then when you're done that, you press start. And the oven preheats itself. Next, we have to get our ungreased cookie tray, and we are going to be putting it on the table ready for our cookies. Set the timer to 8 minutes.